How do you even decide if a director did a better job than another when they are telling completely different stories? Here's how I rate it. Look at the question, who is the best director of the year, this way. Which director used the language of cinema the best to tell his story? With that in mind, let's take a look at all 5 nominees for the Oscar of Best Achievement in Directing in 2023. Todd Field for Tar. In one word, precision. Almost every shot of Tar comes from the most encompassing angle in the room, giving you a full view of the location and the characters, and they always last long enough for your eyes to wander and catch every detail. Few directors today can properly use the scope aspect ratio. Tar is textbook perfect scope. Without the expense of height, shots are truly wide. As you can see by her body language, Lydia is a larger-than-life character. She couldn't inhabit a world that is not in scope. Thanks to highly detailed sets with numerous decorations and props, each shot is quite pleasing to the eye. Frames have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I don't just mean story-wise. Here's the beginning, here's the middle, here's the end. Beginning, middle, end. Check this beauty here. Can you tell what I love the most about how perfect is this composition? The edge of the frame fits the table leg. It's so needlessly precise. And check this edge here. I love it. The strong scope frames make every place feel spacious. Frames give literal room for characters to move, enter, and exit. Notice here how this guy switches between leaning forward and back, and no matter which position he's in, he never covers this woman. The film's visual accuracy saves Tar from something that plagues most movies. What's the most visually boring kind of scene? The shot-counter-shot exchange, of course. In Tar, each shot and counter-shot gets as much attention as wider angles. Sets and their decorations are perfectly framed in every way. And there's always plenty of room between the actors. One could say it gives a sense of cool detachment between Tar and other people, but I try to abstain from interpretations. Unless it's obvious or something the director stated, they always feel too subjective and can make anything sound brilliant. Just notice how when Lydia's feelings are out of control, the film abandons the perfectly composed shots and switches to handheld camera work. Lack of control. There's so much more to talk about in the amazing direction of Tar, like how it's possible it's mostly from the POV of Krista Taylor's ghost, or how in Lydia's childhood home we never see the piano, we just hear how untuned it sounds. As if music had left her life. But we'd be here all day, so let's move to my second favorite direction. Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans. Most people will tell you there isn't a one-size-fits-all style for film directing. I disagree. The classical style, when done right, can improve any screenplay. That's why Steven Spielberg can take any mood and genre and make it visually interesting. With his fluid camera work, subtly dramatic angles, and rigorous blocking, Spielberg can elevate even this simple family story to wholly cinematic heights. His shots have so much information he doesn't need to cut as often as most directors. The Fabelmans is full of shots that move from the specific to the general, from the book to the kitchen, from the candle to the celebration, from the camera to the store. No matter what the scene is about, Spielberg will make it cinematic. He frequently shows the character and what keeps the character's attention within the same shot. He can move the camera, he can use a reflection, or he can use a careful angle. And why not all at once? Directing challenge. How would you film a sad woman playing the piano while her husband works in the same room? Most directors would just cut from this to that. A showy director like Inarritu would whip pan from the husband to the piano, whip tilt to the woman's face and circle around or something. Here's the Spielberg way. He places the husband in the background. He moves the camera slightly, pulls focus to the woman's reflection. He moves to her hands, then frames both playing and face reflection from the bottom. And it's all in one single camera movement you barely notice. Look here how each character steals the previous one's spotlight in an organic way. Mind how the camera circles Logan to take his POV, while he turns to the left and another character moves to the left. These movements practically hide the camera movement. When Monica and Sammy have a fight, it's your typical two-shot. In a perfectly lit and arranged extra-packed set, by the way. As Monica removes her necklace, she moves closer to the camera while Sammy loses focus and leaves the frame. They move back to the two-shot, and thanks to that discreet reframing, even someone who didn't watch the rest of the film knows this is a breakup. Now let's skip to the next movie before I decide I want Spielberg to win. Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert for Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. As is to be expected from this wild story, this film gets the most over-the-top directing of the bunch. The Daniels go encyclopedic as they make direct and indirect references to as many visual styles as they can. Kung Fu films, Wong Kar-wai, Kubrick, Dragon Ball, you name it. Have you tried reading the screenplay? It's as hard to follow as you'd expect, switching non-stop from one universe to the next. If all these dimensions were presented in the same way, it would be impossible to understand the movie. That's what the Daniels do well, they make their madness visually clear. There are 4 aspect ratios. 1:5 in the Texas universe, 2.0 in the hot dog universe, 239 in the action universe, and 4:3 in Evelyn's memories. You can cut as much as you want from one to the other and you never get confused. That said, they don't use scope well at all. The black bars are there to help you differentiate one reality from the other, but the directors clearly treat it as less image up and down instead of more on the sides. Notice how it doesn't get wider, but shorter. On the bright side, action moments are extremely easy to follow and admire, and they're full of dynamic angles, exciting movements and slow motion. Dialogue scenes, though, are rather simple. Static characters, shot counter shot, but they do play around with light and shadow, and I like these unusual lights here. And interestingly enough, before the sci-fi plot starts, the Daniels already prepare you for the excitement to come by directing Evelyn's management of the laundromat as a fight scene.
Customers.
Check it out. The camera fluidly follows her movement, then it follows whatever gets her attention.
We've been together for 3 years. Don't you think Gong Gong would want to know?
Let him enjoy his party tonight.
Okay, you think Becky's gonna get through the whole party?
These small everyday actions like climbing up a stool feel like choreography.
Evelyn!
Have you
Guess
met
whose
Becky?
toy got eaten by the machine?
How the creep arrives from the right and Evelyn pulls the bat from the left. Perfect use of the frame.
Women, customers need you!
This scene could have been just a boring day at the office, but the Daniels elevate it with wonderfully energetic blocking and camera work. The way James Hong is presented with Wayman in the background, Joy and Becky in the middle, and Evelyn in the foreground. Then this dramatic culmination. The directors give as much importance to the running of the laundromat and the relationship with Grandpa as they do to interdimensional combat.
Shit, how do you say it? 他是我的
好朋友，老友嚟㗎。
Mom.
I love it. I wish the expositional scenes had been more visual, but it's forgivable. The film can't be 100% exhilarating. Sometimes we need to breathe. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, why not like and subscribe? Now let's keep going. Martin McDonagh for the Banshees of Inisherin. This is the first time McDonagh the director has approached the level of McDonagh the writer. The film looks almost as good as it reads, partly because the setting gets as much importance as the characters. In this shot we see Siobhan leaving with the laundry. The camera moves up and up, just a little more roof. and it shows the beautiful landscape with Porrick arriving. I personally wish there had been way less roof, but it's still a terrific shot to place the characters into the world they inhabit. McDonagh also uses a lot of windows to visually separate characters, an important theme in the story. And this story is both depressing and hilarious, so McDonagh has the hard task of combining the two.
Oh, for God's sake, Porrick, how many more times?
I am not putting me donkey outside when I'm sad.
This scene begins with Porrick brooding on his chair. At first you think the camera orbits him just for dramatic effect, but it culminates in the framing of Siobhan's arrival. You think she's gonna complain about his moping. No, it's about the donkey, which had been hidden from the previous shot. The screenplay states the donkey is there before she arrives, so a director could very well have shown it from the get-go. By making it a small surprise, McDonagh elevates the screenplay, which is what a good director is supposed to do. Here's another nice little visual surprise. In this scene, Porrick annoys Officer Kearney and leaves the store. Porrick gets back to his cart as the angry cop approaches. Out of focus, since Porrick is unaware. His attention moves to Colum. We cut back and... It's obvious he was gonna get a wallop, but he wasn't paying enough attention, so McDonagh made sure that you didn't pay enough attention either. And when Porrick waves goodbye to Siobhan, he lowers his arm to reveal Mrs. McCormick. From feeling to foreboding. By the way, mind how Siobhan's yellow coat stands out. She's often the only one in warm hues, something that separates her from other Inisherians, insinuating how she doesn't belong.
How's the book?
Sad.
Sad? Well, you should read a not sad one, Siobhan, else you might get sad.
I have to say though that quite a few sets are excessively dark and dull, even when the scene is lighthearted, and some dialogue scenes are too conventionally shot. Still, McDonagh makes an exemplary use of progression from medium shots to close-ups over the course of conversations, and this is his first film that earned its wide aspect ratio.
Look at this I found. A stick with a hook. What would you use it for, I wonder? To hook things or a length of a stick away?
I'll tell you what you use it for, Dominic. You use it to add to your 2:4:1 ratio a nice, wide horizontal line. That's what you use it for. This is one terrific image, by the way. Östlund for Triangle of Sadness. I'm not crazy about this film, so let me start off with the things I like. Quite a few shots use depth to show how such an organized world works. Depth helps to separate the stewards from the cleaning ladies. And it shows how the guests can stay still because the crew does everything around them. In the island, depth helps to keep the visual style we are accustomed to, showing how their improvised community managed to survive.
Pretty boy, we can see you.
One could say the direction in this film is as precise as stars. They're both cold and slow-paced, set mostly in well-decorated, high-class sets framed in encompassing scope. But the problem with Triangle of Sadness is in something other than the composition. It's something I didn't mention in any of the other 4 films because they all do it right. That something is timing. Triangle of Sadness is supposedly a comedy. Not only is the screenplay not funny,
No, it's not.
but the direction has no timing. Östlund is so slow I only found out a couple things were meant to be jokes when I read the screenplay. There's this scene where everyone in the first row is asked to move one seat to the left. It ends with Carl standing up.
Where can I sit?
Sorry?
I mean, I don't have a seat.
This is really bad.
The problem is you can already see there's no seat left for Carl 8 seconds before the punchline. It's not only bad timing, it's the wrong angle.
This is really, really bad.
But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Leave a comment and I will see you next week.